to Project Phoenix Rising.
Thank you. Welcome you to Project Phoenix Rising.
This is my friend, Reverend Patricia Zogar.
And this is my friend, Reverend Thomas DeShooter. And we are together here
on the traditional and unceded
territory of the Nanaimo First Nation.
Yeah.
To whom we are grateful.
Absolutely. And we welcome all of our ancestors with us here as well to be with us and guide us and join us in this journey.
Mm-hmm. We invite you to, simply with your thoughts, include all that has contributed to your fortunate life and created the wonderful being that you are.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that was good.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
You know, we're going to talk today about wisdom.
Wisdom, one of the 12 powers.
Yeah, as we move into April, wisdom is the power of April. And January was faith, February was love, and this past current month, March, is...
wisdom.
No, it's not actually.
It is in my schedule.
Well, in the...
But we'll take it, whatever.
We're going to argue about this?
Yeah.
Should we have a little fight here?
Yeah.
On all the stuff I see online,
yeah.
all the calendars, it's actually faith,
strength,
love, wisdom, and
love.
wisdom.
Okay.
Love is February, which is Valentine's.
Oh,
right,
okay. Right. Some people have taken.
Right. So I don't know which one to believe.
Well, according to Charles, it was the way I say it.
Okay. So we're currently in.
We're in wisdom.
And then next is
love.
Wow. Mm-hmm. See, even unity doesn't know.
Well, again, that is the beauty of unity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for the most part, we tend to concern ourselves with things that are concerning, not things that are just fine, however you want to do them.
Right.
Right?
That's wisdom right there.
Yeah.
See, that was wisdom.
That was wisdom.
That wasn't knowledge.
I know, though.
Because there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom, but that was actual wisdom.
And that's what we're talking about today, really, is that difference between knowledge and education and deep down wisdom.
But before we go there,
okay.
I want to share something, because as we did our introduction and our land acknowledgement and our ancestral acknowledgement, this morning I was briefly on Facebook, and our friend Samquatan had posted on Facebook, and he posted something to, I don't remember the exact wording, but something to the notion that for the first time in his life he could say to himself that he was proud of himself.
Perhaps he's finished his master's training.
Perhaps that wasn't part of the post, but there was just that acknowledgement of being proud of yourself. And I saw wisdom in that. Like I actually saw, that's a learning and an understanding of yourself. I was just moved by it this morning when I saw it. I commented on it, and I read the comments of many of his aunts and uncles that refer to him as nephew, and there were comments in there of your ancestors are with you, so much tradition in the comments that it just brought a deepening awareness for me around that, the lessons that we can learn from them, from others, from other cultures, from other experiences. It's vast.
Yes, and I'd like to personally acknowledge Samquatan. I know he's doing amazing work, and he should be proud of himself, and should have been proud of himself for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Samquatan is what's known as a knowledge keeper. And when I wonder if there's the elders are the wisdom keepers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So wisdom, I heard the other day, I shared this with you when we were talking on Tuesday, I shared this with you that I had heard this comment that wisdom, so there's this idea, this is the idea, that we're experiencing suffering.
At times, yes, we all do, yes.
There's a little bit of sarcasm there from my part, but there are these moments where we are experiencing suffering.
Yes.
And the longer that we stay stuck in the suffering or the story like when how we love to tell our story of
Yes.
how we've been
Oh,
wronged.
oh, yes.
Or whatever it is.
My childhood was worse than your childhood.
Right. It's like,
All that.
I always think of that as like two security guards hanging out where they've got nothing else to do but tell stories. So then they end up comparing stories.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
It's this race to how
Two
who's
property managers will do that too.
Anyhow, the idea being that it's only when we can let go of the story, and the only time we can let go of the story is when we've truly healed it, that is when we gain wisdom.
Yeah.
So it's the suffering of today, so to speak, can be the wisdom of tomorrow.
Right.
And it can be only if we're willing to do the work necessary to release and let go another one of our 12 powers, right?
Right.
Of the suffering that we're experiencing.
Yes.
And then we get to integrate it, and it truly does become wisdom for us.
I have written right here, turn your wounds into wisdom. Oprah Winfrey.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have said a lot of the things we're going to say today.
Yeah, it's true. And I have one here from Aristotle. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom.
Well, I think I have one by Aristotle that just says that exactly that.
Well, my Aristotle is better than
and then
yours.
Socrates followed up with,
The only true wisdom is knowing you know nothing.
isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
So people have had this wisdom for a very long time. But in our modern day, we tend to be more impressed by people who know things rather than people who are wise.
Yeah, actually, when you were saying that, I thought we are more impressed by people who have things.
Oh, that too.
That seems to make people think that they know something, and that makes what they have to share wisdom.
Yes.
Whereas in a lot of cases, it might just be knowledge that they're sharing.
Yes.
So what for you, I'm going to put you on the spot. For you, what is the difference between knowledge and wisdom?
Well, knowledge, I can go read a book, I can look up in the internet, I can talk to you, I can ask questions. But wisdom is sort of what I have after I've digested all that. And also what I have after I've done a lot of things wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I just look at mistakes as learning opportunities, and then it becomes wisdom.
Right.
But wisdom is your own, where knowledge is somebody else's truth. Perhaps the whole world's truth. But wisdom is something you know in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of think of it as in the internal. So when I think of internal, I don't think of my brain, my mind so much as I think of my abdomen region and the knowing, the hub of knowing is here. And that's my knowing.
The gut feeling.
Yeah. And then on the outside perimeter, and I learned this from Dr. Michael Siegel, I think, and I'm putting a different spin on it today that I'm just realizing as we talk. But on the outside rim is the rim of known, the known, and we can get the known through our five senses, right? That's how we get to the known. But what we have, the hub of knowing that we each have, is our own wisdom that we've gleaned from all of the outside stuff, and as you said, brought it in and digested it and made it into something that serves us.
And even unconsciously, partly, because one of the best ways, some of my best wisdom notes have come through meditation, where I've been struggling with something and I leave it and I go meditate and I come back with the answer. Or ideas just come into my head that I had no thought of doing.
Right.
And it's like, you should do this. And yeah. So it's intuition.
Yeah. Yeah, I was involved in a group meditation on the weekend, and we practiced the Unity's 5-step prayer process, and somebody shared after that in their experience, when we went into the silence, something popped up that they weren't even looking for in that particular moment, but all of a sudden it was like, whoosh.
So you got an answer to a question you didn't know yet.
Yes. Yeah. And Yeah, and that can bring us right into the idea of having a practice, right?
Yes.
The importance of having a practice of opening and allowing ourselves to learn and to experience ourselves in the moment.
Yeah. 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 Want a couple more quotes?
Yeah, sure.
I got some goodies. Susan B. Anthony, going back a little way here. Yeah, if I can find hers. The older I get, the greater power I seem to have to help the world. I am like a snowball. The further I am rolled, the more I gain. Susan B. Anthony, of course, was in the women's suffragette movement.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to reform or pause and reflect.
Mm-hmm.
So
That makes me think
beware
of
of agreeing too much.
Well, that makes me think of the wide gate and the narrow gate, right? The path to, what is it? The path to suffering is the wide gate, and the path to freedom is the narrow gate.
Yeah.
And that again to me points to what's right for you, what serves you, of knowing. If I go back to knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. If that is true, then the work to do, in my mind, and I even got to back up now, because there's this. We can believe whatever we want to believe. There's no right or wrong belief. And the things that we think of a lot, the things that we ponder on a great deal, we tend to end up believing them. Right? So for an example, I have, as you have, we have taken a deep, deep, deep commitment and dive into spiritual teachings, unity. You also have science of mind background. And so by doing that and by thinking about it a lot and talking about it a lot and sharing about it a lot, it becomes a belief system for us.
Right.
Right. So we have that ability to believe whatever it is we want to believe, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's right.
It's true.
Right. It just means that it's right for me, or it's right for you, or it's right for you that might be listening to this now, is that you have developed beliefs by constantly thinking about certain things.
Right.
And part of the wisdom of that is to know that you actually can let it go and not have it be like, I have to pound my fist on the desk
Yes.
and everybody else needs to believe it.
Right.
That's not wisdom.
No. That's opinion.
Yes. The wisdom is to know you don't need to do that.
And that you can change that.
Yeah.
All the time. We often quote Charles Fillmore, who said, I reserve the right to change my mind.
Right.
Writes a book, gives it to you, and says, now, just remember, I might change my mind about all this.
Mm-hmm. I have the full quote of that somewhere. I just heard it the other day. Yeah. And I forget what it is, because it's there's more to it than that. It's actually the longer version is actually really, it's deep.
Okay.
But here, I was, wisdom. So I pulled this from something from Unity. Wisdom is the cultivation of the inner voice, that intuitive insight or internal discernment, the power to apply what is known.
And the ability to discern, too, when we see all these opinions and all these things, which one is the right one for me? And yeah. Yeah,
well, what is I heard this from Maya Angelou talk or writing. The Chinese say that to know and not do is to not know. That's
the effect it has in the world, right?
It means you don't actually know.
Right. I know, and I know that I know. Yeah. I've actually heard people use that phrase in prayer. Mm-hmm. I know, and I know that I know.
Right. And so, and in wisdom, because you mentioned this earlier, in the unity principles of wisdom, or the unity teachings of wisdom, as it is found in the pit of our stomach. That's where it resides. And I know where I was kind of going earlier was I wanted to bring up all the 12 powers. So for me, that internal embodiment of wisdom is here in the lower torso, because of the 12 powers that we have located in this area. We have our wisdom, we have order, we have strength, and we have life itself is all located in our lower torso. And to me, those are, it's like it's good to have understanding and it's good to have a spiritual connection and a lot of stuff in our head. But when we move down, and of course we have our heart here, but when we move down into this area, that is where sort of those deep principles kind of resonate to me. That's where we get grounded into something. And I often think of the lower chakra, right? The root chakra is down
Right.
at
And
the
I was
base
going
of
to
our
say
spine.
solar plexus too, and I'm not sure what's the teaching about solar plexus, but I understand it's a significant nerve bundle,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah.
So,
It's our second brain is actually located here in our solar plexus region. There's because of that nerve bundle. It is there is an intelligence there. And then, so as I mentioned earlier, you can live in the world, you can put your, if you thought of yourself consciousness as a spoke coming out from the inside, you can have your spoke on the five senses, but just operating on the five senses is not going to give you the truth of who you are. It's going to be the external world that's coming at you, and you're going to be constantly responding to that. But we have also the ability to go internally and investigate ourselves within, and really, if our body and our mind are harmonized, that's when we're operating at our best.
absolutely.
Right? When there's harmony as opposed to disharmony or dis-ease, we want to be harmonized between our thoughts, regulating ourselves, being conscious of our thoughts, those regulating our body and our belief systems, and all of those things working together becomes a life of balance.
Yeah. Just as you were speaking there, the term body wisdom came to me, and people I know use that term, your body wisdom. So, we know that every cell has intelligence in it as well. So listen to the body is good advice.
Yeah.
I want to share with you one of my favorite quotes, and this is from Gloria Steinem.
Okay.
Would you remember who Gloria Steinem is?
I don't.
One of the most active, earliest feminists.
Okay.
The first problem for all of us, man and woman, is not to learn, but to unlearn. And people often say this coming into unity, that they have to unlearn a lot of stuff that they've been told for many years that doesn't feel true to them anymore. So
It's, that's...
unpacking.
Yeah. I like to give examples of things like that. And the best source of examples I have are my own experience of it.
Of course they are,
right?
yes.
So I know for me, in coming into unity, some of the challenges I had with taking on these new ideas, these new principles, was that I was raised in a Catholic household, not good or bad. There's a belief system in place there. I spent, 15, 20 years in the financial industry. There's a whole set of belief systems there and operations. And I had to really unpack all of those things in order to reassemble them. It's not what's interesting to me as I look at it, it's not that I threw them all out.
Right.
It's I just needed to unpack them and sort of look at them and analyze them and go, well, what here actually rings true to me now?
Right.
And keep that, but throw out the garbage ideas that I had around it.
Yeah.
Right. It's sort of like transcending and not tossing away the old completely, but taking what actually serves and bringing that forward and letting go of the stuff that you can look at and go, oh, that's now nonsense to me.
And it's not just in spirituality or religion. I mean, the old wives' tales we were told about our bodies, and the thing as children, the things we believed would happen if we did this or that, and all it's gentle, but it's insidious that this stuff is in our mind. We don't even really know it's there, but it's guiding our actions nevertheless. So that's why we do all our shadow work and self-awareness stuff. I was lucky, though. I was brought up without any religious training, so I always say I'm lucky I didn't have to unlearn anything, but there was probably opinions about religions that I subconsciously too had to let go of.
Yeah, and in society, and who has authority and who doesn't have authority, and all of those things are, they're embedded in our subconscious. The fact that just examine your day. When you get up every morning, do you do the same thing? Do you get up? Do you go brush your teeth? That, like, these rituals that you do, not good or bad, but you do them, and you do them subconsciously.
And there's a wisdom in that. If they're good things, that's your natural wisdom at work, right?
But an examined life is wise. Mm-hmm. To look and pause and see what do I think about
what's
this?
In here?
Why am I thinking this way about this? Why am I doing this certain way? It's. I remember recently we did a talk here at Unity, and I brought up the ham in the pan, right? And the sun was cutting off the ends.
I always heard that as a turkey leg, but it's a great story.
And then asks his mom, and she's like, I don't know, my mom always did it. And so then they finally asked grandma or her mom, and she's like, oh, my pan was too small, so I had to cut off the ends. But they just did it. Yeah. And so I shared that story on the weekend with somebody, and they commented to me that they had a belief when they got married. They said to their husband, they got the Christmas tree, and they were like, we have to leave it outside overnight. And he was like, why? Yeah. And then it was like, well, I don't know. That's what we did. We just left it outside overnight for 24 hours right before bringing it in. But there's no reason for it.
It might be.
But there was none that was like, she had no, it was just, that's what we did.
Just because. Yeah.
Right. And so it's those kind of things that you just do out of just doing them, but you're not actually conscious to why you even have that or why you're even doing that.
Well, and that applies to all the family rituals, but again, all the religious rituals. Mm-hmm. And that's why people leave maybe their family upbringing, because they start and wonder, why am I believing this ritual? And then you may choose to stay, but when you use your own wisdom to find your own truth, it may or may not change, but at least you know what you're believing.
Right. Well, I actually, while you said that, I was thinking that might even, that changing those things might actually spur somebody to leave because it becomes uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. But that's not how we do it. We've always done it this way. And then that becomes a resistance point for somebody, right. To the point where they can't even be with it.
Well, maybe they're not very wise. Well, I mean, when you're wise, you can learn to be with most anything, right? Yeah. Like this one. This is from Isaac Asimov. You'll know that name.
Yes.
The saddest aspect of life right now is that science gathers knowledge faster than society gathers wisdom.
Wow. I'll have to think about that one for a while.
Science. Yeah. Knowledge, but science is not necessarily wise. It's knowledgeable. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's also, I mean, to be truly scientific is to have an open mind that the very thing you're thinking right now could change.
Yeah.
Could be different. Yeah.
And another Aristotle. It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. Shall I believe this? Yes or no? Again, making it what's true for you in your gut and your heart.
Right. You know, when you said that, I'm thinking of peer pressure. The wisdom to know that you don't have to do what everybody else is doing. Right? Something as a father, I hope I have been able to put that wisdom into my children to some extent, that they understand it's because the crowd is doing it. They don't have to necessarily do it.
Right. And just because their father does it, they don't either.
Well, there's that too, right?
Yeah,
now,
right.
That's very apparent to them. Right. They've got that one down in spades.
Until the day God will deign to reveal the future to man, all human wisdom is contained in these two words: wait and hope. What do you think of that?
Say it again.
Until the day God will deign to reveal the future to man, all human wisdom is contained in these two words, wait and hope.
Well, I have a challenge with it right away, that there is a God that's revealing things to us.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a stumbling block for me.
Of course.
However, patience.
Yeah.
So the waiting, patience is a virtue, they say, and hope is a way to move ourselves forward. So I like that idea, because I like to think of hope as either I'm pulling myself forward into something, or
Right.
I'm pulling that future towards me, right? That's how I visualize when I'm hopeful about something. It's that I'm seeing something I would like to be different than I'm currently experiencing it, and I have this idea that it could be, and so now I grab onto that, and I'm either pulling myself to it or pulling it towards me. And there needs to be patience in that as well.
Well, my thought as I read that was the connection with the word surrender, allowing things to be as they are now, instead of. My very first minister always said to me, whenever you're trying to decide something, don't do anything until you're sure. He was wise. But then sometimes I've questioned that. But this whole idea of not having to rush out and fix everything all the time, because from our point of view, it might be wrong, but from a higher wisdom point of view, it might be exactly the way it's supposed to be now.
Right.
So before we rush out and rescue the world, let's wait and hope for a little while.
Yeah. Well, the word sure for me, I was thinking, so is that I need to wait until I'm sure it's going to work out? No, I don't think so, because there's no knowing that. But maybe it's the idea that I'm sure it is mine to do.
Yes, precisely.
And so that again goes to the wisdom if we go back to was it Aristotle, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. So when you know yourself, you know what's yours to do. There's, like, I often think of it in terms of hills I'm willing to die on. Yep. There's some ideas and things I'm just not willing to. Like, no, you can have that. Take it. Whatever.
Exactly.
I'm not even, but there are things that it's like, well, that's now maybe a place I need to make a stand on who I am and what I believe and what I'm going to be coerced into doing or anything else. That's and that's knowing yourself.
And that's the feeling you get, the wisdom of your own. Yeah.
So wisdom, by the definition in Unity, is the ability to evaluate, enlighten, discern. It's judicious. Underdeveloped, you are foolish, perhaps, indecisive, perhaps, imprudent, rash, cannot discern good from bad. And I always look at good from bad. Good from bad as not right or wrong, but good for me or bad for me. When I think of back when I smoked, good for me or bad for me.
But why should we bother judging somebody else's?
It's not mine to tell somebody else what to do. But for me, if I have an aim for how I want to be in the world or how long I want to have health or anything like that, then it's examining all of those things that might be good for that or work against it.
Right.
And then too much wisdom. Oh, could we actually, you mean you could have
smarty pants.
Too much wisdom? Well, maybe you don't have too much wisdom. Maybe you are egocentric in your wisdom. And so you are shrewd, cunning, crafty, calculating, know-it-all. And that's not wisdom. And I can see myself in that.
Oh, we all slip over there a little bit from time to time.
But more so in the past than now.
Yeah.
But I can see that that's a way that I operated for a large part of my life. The idea of being cunning and crafty, learning to get my way. What do I need to do to, make this go the way I want it to go?
But exactly. See, when you didn't know you were being like that, when that was just natural, Then you started getting goody two-shoes and really learning. And knowing thyself means we have to know all the shadows and the flaws and own them too.
Yeah.
No, just this trend we have in the Western world these days, I guess, to just promote how great I am is not knowing yourself at all.
Again, that goes back to earlier where it's like, because I'm going to show you all the nice houses and cars I have, somehow I'm more brilliant.
Right.
When is that the case?
Right. So it's growth. William should be always growing, hopefully.
Right. So shall we end with a wisdom affirmation? Or do you have more?
Well, I just have one last remark that I like from Rumi.
Yeah, let's go.
Rumi said, "Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I want to change myself."
Right.
What do you got?
Well, I'm going to just sit in that one for a moment, because that actually is a nice sum up for everything we've talked about.
And again, I love too the slogan for Centers for Spiritual Living is simply change your thinking, change your life. Gets right to the point, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, changing the world is your perception of the world.
Of course it is.
Right? And so the way to change that is to change
make it
yourself.
Up again.
It's so perfectly stated. But we can end with an affirmation.
All right.
So I invite you all to take a moment now and just pause all of the thoughts that have been generated, that are running around in your head, and allow yourself to drift downward into your heart space first, and then a little lower into your solar plexus, into your wisdom area, and allow yourself to breathe into that area. So through your nose into your belly. And allow these words to be your words. I trust that the divine is always working towards my highest good. I work in tandem with this knowledge to claim my highest wisdom and to wisely discern my best path.
Thank you.
And so it is.
Did you notice I'm wearing my wise owl today?
I did not. I was not using all of my senses. There.
There it is. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Reverend Patricia.
Thank you. Namaste.
Yeah. Namaste for sure.